let's talk about the plan to rename Columbia Park. There's so much information and misinformation going around that maybe I can help clear this up. The item sounds simple, but it's really made more complex because proper procedures are not being followed. And of course, we have the recurring theme of an active attempt to decrease transparency in our city. This is a textbook case of the ends cannot justify the means. We cannot set aside a transparent process with the community input to fast track something. At the last city council meeting, several council members attempted to rename Columbia Park. Early reactions from the public were a mixture of surprise, confusion, and disapproval. The city has been holding many community meetings with residents about changes to Columbia Park, but something that wasn't disclosed in those meetings was any suggestion of changing the name. A council member had apparently made the request to rename the park, then an ad hoc committee of the city council was convened to discuss it. These committees are not really publicized and definitely not well attended. If you really want to know that they're coming, you need to regularly check the city council website. And as you can see, even after looking around, I really couldn't even find this most recent meeting on the council's website. After the ad hoc committee, the suggestion was then brought to the city council to rename the park, then and there. No substantive community notice, no input. Here's the unfortunate part. The individual being suggested is highly deserving Medal of Honor recipient Ted T. Tanue. The city should absolutely honor him. Actually, we already have with this memorial here at Torrance High. Also, the permanent exhibit at the Torrance Historical Society Museum and the Torrance National Guard Armory, which bears his name. But if we're going to be renaming the park after anyone, we couldn't really find anyone more deserving than Tanue. The issue, though, is that the community wasn't informed. Even the Tanue Foundation didn't know the city was moving forward with this. At the very least, let's make sure that his family and foundation want this. Then let's go for broke. Councilmember Kalani suggested that while Mr. Tanue was about as deserving as they come, renaming Columbia Park really requires the input of the community, and we should follow the appropriate process. So she suggested that the recommendation be referred to the Parks and Recreation Commission for community input. I used to serve on that commission, and I can tell you, when we had hearings about changes to our parks, we would often have a line of people extending outside the room waiting to speak to us. The plan to rename the park wasn't shot down, as some have suggested, but rather continued to the next appropriate step in the process. Please remember that it's election season and that politicians and their operatives are politicking. Not every inflammatory thing you hear is true. The meeting got even more heated from there, with one council member storming out, but eventually the plan to consider renaming the park was continued to the next step with a motion by Councilmember Gerson and seconded by Councilmember Kalani. The motion was supported by all but one member, who actually supported the fast-track approach, with Councilmember Kaji absent. As usual, if you want to know more or connect with me, please join me at david4torrance.com.